Yeah, but that it'll be a different link now. All right, perfect, man. Well, I think we're live on here now. So, ready to go? Well, let's go. I mean, first to start, how are things over there? Staying quarantined, staying inside, or what does it look like? Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us. And I'm glad just to hear first before we the intros, everything is good. You're safe. You don't need to jump off the call or anything. But anybody listening at home right now, another episode here. What we have is Oto Osenieks, former Gopher basketball player. Looks like you came here 2010, redshirted that year though, right? Yep. So redshirt their first year, 2010, and then finished around 2015. Yeah, man. So we got Otto just to touch base a little bit. You're a unique player. You're a European player, so we'll touch upon on that a little bit. And you're also somebody who played, I guess, in the prep school, circuit around the country. You've been around college. You've been in different circumstances since finishing basketball. So happy you can join and just give a little perspective onto the hoop scene today. But just to jump in, man, and kind of open it up to what you're doing now. Just talk about life since hoops, life since 2015, kind of what's transpired since you've stopped playing. Hey, Otto, one second. I don't know if we can hear you right now. Are you have your audio good on that side? Yeah, it looks. I just got word we might not be able to hear you right now. One sec. Yeah, that one. There's a new post that we have going live on the page right now. But let me just. Yeah, we can't hear you right now. I can hear you, but it sounds like that we can't hear you on the other side. So I'm checking in on that to get.
Now I can't hear you.
Otto, I think we're ready to go here.
Oh, there we go. Now I can hear you.
There
Can
we
you
go.
hear me?
Can I hear you? I can hear you.
All
I
right.
think we're all good. Ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Ready to jump in?
Yep.
Yes, sir. I think there was a few people that said they couldn't hear you. So they had me. So they had everything I was saying. But luckily, you didn't go too far into things. So just Otto, jump in a little bit about hoops since life after basketball since 2015, kind of what's been going on. And just
Yeah.
talk.
So since people didn't hear, I just kind of gonna repeat what I said before. So
Yeah.
after graduating from Minnesota, I wanted to coach for a few years. So I tried that. I was a graduate assistant and video coordinator for South Dakota State University down in Brookings, South Dakota, and then coached kids in Sioux Falls there, and had a lot of fun doing that. And then after a couple years, Laura got pregnant, and then kind of wanted to get a job in the corporate world. So tried out a couple of sales positions, and then landed at Priority One. It's a logistics company, and now I've been working there for 2 years, and just thankful now to have a job. During this crazy time in the country.
Right.
So we're working in logistics. Goods are still moving, and we're helping out people. So it's things are good.
Yeah, talk about that, man. Talk about that life. You kind of said it pretty smooth, but I'm assuming things haven't been that smooth in regards to making that transition from hoops to corporate life, as well as juggling two kids, a wife, somebody that's not even from America, right? Somebody like me that's from America growing up here. I'm already trying to think, wow, how am I going to navigate these things? So talk a little bit about that and how that's gone.
Yeah, so I mean, the just the way my career ended at University of Minnesota, it was at, I believe, February 4th. I just basically woke up and was told that I can't play basketball anymore. The injury that I got was just a very odd injury, but it's just you wake up and it's like, hey, you can't do it anymore. So after that season, it's kind of hard to figure out what exactly I'm going to do right away. In my original plan was to play basketball after college, play professionally in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously that got cut short, and jumped right into basketball because that was my biggest passion in life. And so started coaching, and had a lot of fun with it. It was just a very different. It's different, going from player to coach. So, but I learned a lot coaching. I learned a lot throughout my experiences, and then just after coaching, it was had a couple. Kind of had to discover what excites me, what's my new passion, and so went through a couple of jobs before I truly found out that logistics is kind of what I really like and where I want to be at. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Definitely. Was there something at the U or when you were there that helped prepare you in that corporate world, or was it something that got you to that point, with Priority Logistics, like, hey, this is a company I want to try out at least, or how did you even land in that spot?
no, honestly, at Priority One, I landed through a connection. A couple of my friends worked there for a few years before I joined it.
Uh-huh.
So that's how I kind of I didn't know a lot about logistics. I didn't go to school for logistics. It just kind of happened. But at University of Minnesota, I mean, it's a great school, great education. My degree was kind of broad. My undergrad was in business management, so I knew I wanted to do something in business and sales. So that's why I took a lot of classes that kind of steered towards that, and talked with a lot of different people, a lot of alumni. I kind of asked them a lot of questions, what corporate world looks like. But honestly, that's what kind of want to talk to you about later in the interview too, is just how student athletes can be better prepared for the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
And so after graduating, I just kind of had to figure out by getting a couple different jobs before realizing what I really want to do.
Yeah, for sure. No, I can relate it. We can talk even more on that. I guess let's just kind of start a little more the trajectory of how you've gotten to where you're at today. So let's jump back to more of that coaching experience and kind of what happened right after basketball, because you, like a lot of athletes, of course, like myself, like others who have aspirations of playing professionally, the other option is, okay, how can we impact sports? Let's just be a coach. And I think there's a lot of stuff in the coaching scene that honestly, we didn't even know coming into it. And then a lot of people don't even understand that coaching life. Just talk a little bit about kind of what you got into, really what pushed you out of the coaching scene maybe, and really what brought you in, and just some stuff that may have surprised you. I know you were a grad assistant as well as a few other things. So kind of enlighten people on that process and journey.
Yeah. So my first journey was, a lot of coaches that are coaching Division I basketball nowadays, or Division II or Division III, have started in high school or AAU and just kind of worked their way up into those, NCAA levels. For me, it was kind of different because right after, I graduated, Coach Pitino offered me a graduate assistant coaching job on the University of Minnesota team, and so
Yeah.
obviously was lucky to get into that position, but just opened my eyes. As a player, you show up to practice, everything's, you go hard for 2-3 hours, film is ready, and you don't really think about how all of that is prepared behind the scenes. Where as a graduate assistant, my first year, I was like, man, these coaches work a lot of hours, man.
I mean, how are you talking?
So, I mean, you're in the gym preparing everything an hour before practice, making sure film's ready to go, making sure, the gym is set up. And then after practice is done, you don't get to just, leave like players. You got to stay in and have meetings and be there for a couple hours and put film together. And so there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I just didn't think of or didn't realize,
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I can't imagine. What are some of the things you took from, I guess, coaching right away? Some of those people that you learned from, whether it was Coach Pitino or your other stint down in South Dakota.
Well, you learn hard work. As
Yeah.
a coach, you work long hours, and it's just really what goes on behind the scenes. Something for me personally, being from Europe and thinking that, in basketball, you're gonna work super hard, show up early, stay late, put in a lot of work. You're gonna be able to work way up, which is true. You can do that, but also you have to have a lot of connections with people that you can recruit. And that's what I've learned the biggest from Coach Pitino and Coach Hotzelberger down in South Dakota State's like, hey man, you got to have connections to get in this coaching world. You got to have people that you can recruit and bring on to different colleges that you're going to be a coach, and after a few years of doing that, I realized like I don't have a lot of connections in America, and those connections in Latvia, because with the young players kind of start fading, so that was the biggest reasons why I got out of it too.
Yeah, for sure. I think we got a question popped in here. Chris Halverson, what was the best thing about coaching for you, as well as it looks like what was the worst thing about coaching? So I'll let you pick either the best thing about coaching or the worst thing about coaching first.
Yeah, that's what's up, Chris. So the best thing about coaching is just so there's, I feel like coaching in college and coaching 13, 14-year-old kids is so much different.
Yeah.
But one thing that's very common on both, but what I did as a graduate assistant coach and the video coordinator is I got to work individually with a lot of players and see them grow. And so just that growth from, the first day you start to work with a kid and, 3 months later, when you work on things, it's just a lot of fun to see them learn and grow and get better. The worst thing, I mean, it's long hours. You get to be away from your family a lot. A lot of people don't realize it, but just the travel, the time you're away, it just kind of takes a toll on you,
Yeah, for sure. I can't imagine, especially when it comes to just family and life and trying to prepare for life after it, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you balance those two? And it was already always a juggling act in college, having to try and balance life. So it seems like this is just another step in that. And I'm sure that good with it though, seeing those players develop. I mean, that's probably why you got into the game, right? That's what you wanted to see.
Yeah, and that's why I got into coaching. I wanted to help them get better on the court and off the court as well, just to kind of prepare them for the life after sports and teach them life. As
Yeah.
pass
No,
on whatever I learned from all the coaches that I was playing for, kind of pass my knowledge on to them.
for sure. No, I completely agree. I think we got another question that's popped in. Let's go ahead and jump into that.
Yeah.
Rookie, it looks like. What life lessons or values have you taken from the sport of basketball that you apply to parenting or your life after basketball? Good question.
Yeah. That's a good question. I'm a regional sales manager now, and I kind of sports is just like the corporate world. It's life. So I kind of keep telling my coworkers, my team, the same thing. It's just like sports. When things are not going well in sports, you put in extra time in the gym, put up extra shots, go to weight room, work hard, and then that hard work's always going to pay off. That's the number one thing that I always kind of live by, and it's always been successful for me. You just work hard, and things are going to go, fall into the right place. Number two would be teamwork. Obviously, with playing basketball for over 20 years, you're surrounded by teammates, and the best teams that I've been on is just always there's a different feel. You have everybody's clicking, everybody's doing their job, everybody's doing their role, and same thing in in corporate world. Like good companies, they have people doing their jobs and doing their roles, and that's once they click all together, it's just they can become successful. So
Yeah, no, I think it can be super cliche when you hear about all the values you get from sports. It can go into your work world, into your life. But like being in corporate America, I see so many different references to sports. I'm sure you do too, especially in the sales world, whether it's your manager, whether it's just the lingo you hear around and like pushing each other. And so I think a lot of those intangibles definitely translate super well.
yeah, like Tubby said, just do your job, son.
Do your job, son. Every time.
Everybody's gonna do their part.
No, that's the most important thing. You talked about it. Some of the best teams you have been around, that's what they did. Speaking of best teams you've been around, who was the best team you played on with the Gophers? All the years you were there, who was the best squad we had, would you say?
I think the year we went to NCAA tournament, obviously, and beat UCLA in the first round. That was 2013, I think.
Yeah.
And then the following year, with the winning the NIT, those two I would say were the best.
Those were 2 good years. That Indiana game the other day, that was probably that we all streamed.
Yeah.
That was probably the same. That was
2013.
UCLA. That squad was tough. Of all teams, I would say that was one of the better squads for sure. The NIT run was really cool too, just be able to come together. Like you said, click on all cylinders. I feel like that is something we did. You can really appreciate that. But that 2013 squad we had, man, that was tough. That was tough. That was a tough Big Ten that year though.
Yeah.
They had that was the year that
Draymond, I think
Michigan went to the Final Four that year.
Yeah.
Trey Burke and all that, they went to the Final Four that year. Maybe national championship.
I don't remember, but I know Indiana was stacked. Michigan State.
Tim Hardaway was tough.
Wisconsin was good.
Well, with Draymond, he's tough. Wisconsin was always good. Freshman year, Jordan Taylor was still there, but the next year, they had a few guys too. But Michigan State was stacked all 4 years I was there. It's consistently, they had to have been the best for all 4.
Yeah.
O State was tough that sophomore year too, though. Sullinger came back. So he was still there. But yeah, no, those were some tough squads. Talking about a little Gophers, though, let's jump back a little bit into that Gophers life and to really get into the Gophers, that path to the Gophers. I feel like you're someone grew up in Europe, Latvia, Riga, Latvia, for anyone ever wanting to visit the hometown of Oto Osenieks, the gym that Otto built. But Riga, Latvia, and not too many people understand the process of taking a kid who's growing up, right, just living his everyday life, playing basketball, playing with his Latvian friends, and boom, you're going to America because you want to really essentially be good at basketball. You want to play professionally. Talk a little bit about first that process, really the process of like the old movie Coming to America, as well as really then that path to the Gophers.
Yeah. So my journey to America started when I was 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
About that time in Latvia, all the good players were, getting hit by agents and being asked to either sign a contract basically and start your professional career already, as a 15, 16-year-old to play for teams. At 15, I had a bad knee injury, so I had a reconstruction knee surgery. And so at that point, the doctors were like, hey, man, like, you're probably not going to play high-level basketball again. So when they said that, I realized, like, hey, okay, let's what can I do to still play basketball and get education? And that's why I realized America is the best route to do that.
Right.
So started to, put together a highlight tape. I sent it to a lot of different colleges and nobody responded. And so I had to kind of go the plan B route. I had a Ukrainian coach that put together kind of a group of Latvian kids just playing 5-on-5 and doing some workouts. And he put together some videos and had some connections in America. And so he sent me to a prep school for a 3-week trial period in like an AAU tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went there and played well, and the coach liked me and they offered me to stay there for a year. And so that was 2009. In 2009, I went to Carbondale, Illinois. Brem Prep School was the school that I attended there.
Yeah.
We had 3 kids from Africa, a couple kids from Latvia, 1 kid from Belgium, a couple Americans. So really had a team of like players.
A USA World team combined.
Yeah. So and I believe 6 or 7 guys went Division I from that school. So we had a really good squad down there.
You had Bruce Barron, right?
Bruce Barron, yeah.
I remember I looked at the roster and played with him in a high school all-star game. He was tough. I don't know where he ended up, though.
He went to Oregon.
Okay, so you had some hoopers, a lot of D1 guys that went.
Yeah, we had good players. So
who else recruited you back there when you were at Brim besides Minnesota?
When we get into recruiting, I have a funny story. So when I came to America, I didn't speak a lot of English. I didn't really understand how the recruiting process works.
Yeah.
So I remember I came in August, and a few months in the season, we were playing different teams, and TCU was the first college team that was interested in me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the coach came to visit, we had a conversation, and they're talking about getting me down to visit TCU, to visit their campus and see what's going on. And I just said, hey, let's go. I'm all in. And so the coach took it as I'm gonna, accept the scholarship and go commit to them.
Yeah.
And then a day later, my AAU coach was like, "Hey, Otto, you can't. Do you want to go to TCU? You haven't been to visit there." And I was like, "What do you mean? I got free school, man. I'm all in. I'm gone."
Right.
But so coach is like, "No, man, just be patient. You're gonna get a lot of different looks. You have to go visit the schools." And he really taught me the recruiting process, how it works. And so that's why I kind of took a step back and waited all year. I got recruited by a lot of mid-major schools like Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, University of Tennessee Martin, and then Iowa State, Providence, University of Minnesota.
Who found you from the U? Who was on the staff? Which coach?
Ron Jersa.
Coach Ron Jersa. Yeah, legend.
That was crazy. We had a game in St. Louis.
Where at?
And I don't know the name, but I can tell you that when we pulled up to the game, they had literally like 40 policemen stand there with barricades and like escort us in the arena.
Wait, this is high school. This high school. You were at Brim?
Yeah. So I don't know what gym was that, but it was not safe apparently.
I mean, that's who's there. Get wild. They get wild. It's some crazy stuff there. My dad, a high school basketball referee, he done heard some crazy stuff if he called the wrong call. It's different there. I come to Minnesota high school, just some good stuff, but when you go down there, it's literally life or death at times. That's why you saw those cops. Do you know what time of the year it was in that you went? It was probably some tournament they bring some Illinois schools, and they always bring a lot of Illinois
I would say October.
Yeah, something like that. Some preseason shootout. I'll have to look into that, but that's hilarious. So Coach Joseph saw you in St. Louis, and what was it that he liked about your game? What did he say? How'd that interaction happen that first time? I mean, you're a European guy that don't know much, so I want to see how these coaches are.
Yeah, so a lot of communication that was done through recruiting. It was done through our AAU coach. I didn't have a cell phone at the time. I just got letters and some handwritten stuff, and biggest communication was when they would come to visit our campus and kind of talk at that point. So
Right.
I would start jumping on phone calls with coaches like 1 hour a week. And so that's how me and Coach Ron Jerson built a relationship. And after a couple calls, jumped on a call with Tubby and got a visit, and the rest is history.
Tubby was like, "Come on, son. You gotta just come on, son." Yeah, there was a no-brainer at that point. Well, I want that language barrier, though. Something to me has got to be the hardest thing. I mean, when I got there, you were so advanced already from what I had heard you were prior, and just knowing someone that didn't speak any English when they came. How hard was that? How do you combat a language barrier when playing with American teammates in such a high level game? Like at Brim, you're playing with 6 or 7 D1 guys, so it's not you getting eased in, you know what I mean? And all these different international players coming. How is that, and what do you have to work on to be able to combat all that?
I mean, on the court, you know that the basketball is a language. You know, you don't need to necessarily know a lot of English to play basketball with different people.
Mm-hmm.
But just to kind of take a little step back, so in Europe, in Latvia, they had English classes, and I, you have English in school. The only thing is the communication. I was really good at grammar, but I wasn't able to communicate and speak very well. So
right,
watched a lot of Friends, and that's how I kind of learned English, how to communicate.
Friends was the show.
Yeah. And so when I came to Illinois, I mean, it just living in America, being around the language, and it's just every day you learn something new. You pick up the language and get better. And then on the court, it just every month it got better. I wasn't the only kid who didn't speak very good English at that time. So.
Yeah, for sure. No, I can't imagine. When you were at the U, man, I like to ask every former athlete I have, every former teammate about playing at the barn. Everybody has an opinion, and you were a college coach, so you got to see a lot of other arenas. It's either give or take. Are you happy the barn was your home court in college, right? Like, how was that? Did you enjoy it, good and bad? What was your experience there?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the world's best places to play in. I've been in over 43 countries, and I played basketball in many different arenas all over the world. So definitely the most unique place to play, just by the building is so old and the court being raised up.
Right.
But the fans, I mean, I don't know if we got lucky during the time that we were there, 2015. We had good teams, and so the games are all sold out. I know I've been to games the last couple of years, and they're not always sold out, and it wasn't as bumping as when we played. So just our experience, I think, is just the greatest, one of the greatest places to play in. And so just to kind of answer Chris's question too, he asked favorite arena you ever played in. Obviously the barn is number one. I really love to play at University of Indiana. That was a really cool experience to see the red sea of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And then played in China once. That was a very unique experience. We walked in the gym and everybody's just smoking cigarettes there. You walk in, there's like a huge cloud of smoke. When you're just playing basketball, it was crazy. So it was just kind of a unique experience there.
What was that, for some international play?
Yeah, I was with my national team.
FIBA national team?
What'd you say?
The FIBA national team you were with, Latvia?
It was it wasn't FIBA. It was like exhibition games preparing for the European Championship. So it was like a year before. It wasn't like the official.
Oh yeah. How was that though? How was that compare to playing in America? That game, just over there in general, playing over in Europe and Latvia, in comparison to America.
I feel like that with the national team, obviously it was you playing against grown men. It was a lot more physical, slower pace than in college.
Right.
Prior to college, I would say it was a little slower, obviously slower, less physical,
Mm-hmm.
more tactical. A lot of plays ran. Where in America it's just more up and down, especially in AAU. There's not a lot of plays set. So
Yeah, no, not a lot at all. Especially, I mean, when you think about European basketball, I think as a hooper growing up in America, like I guess stereotype is a lot of pass, move, screen, stretch four men like you, shoot a lot of threes. Like that's just kind of how it is. And that's how it's seen to Americans. But now we're seeing a lot of hoopers come over here. I mean, Luka, he one of my favorite players, hands down, right now. Your guy, Latvian sensation, Kristaps Porzingis, right? Like over here killing in America. And I think you're seeing a lot of guys. You always saw guys, I mean, going back to Rubio's, things like that on draft boards from Europe. But I don't know how you feel about it. It's been a rise in it. Talk a little bit about that. Do you see the rise in, I guess, Europeans coming over more and more and a lot more being successful? Because, I mean, we saw guys like Rubio have a few good years, but we're talking like, honestly, Porzingis and Luka as like perennial all-stars for a few years to come.
yeah. I keep thinking about it. Why has it taken so long for foreign players in America to excel to like an all-star level?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of it has to do with just the game, the social media, and just how easy now it is for the world to be connected. And like NBA doing a lot of camps and going over to Europe and all the players visiting there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just kind of brings everybody more together, and people go scout over there and run a lot of camps and tournaments. That's what I've seen the biggest difference over the last like 5 years. There's a lot of NBA stuff going on in Europe.
Yeah. So you think that stuff's beneficial? A lot of NBA Americas, I mean, world stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot more. I've seen the World Academy and NBA Africa, NBA Europe, like they've been growing a lot more. Think, keep going.
Yeah, when I grew up, I mean, we didn't have any NBA presence in Latvia. Now they're doing, obviously Kristaps Porzingis being from Latvia helps as well, and Davis Bertans and Rodion Skurz. Those are the three guys that are in the league right now. And there's another guy, Pashas, thanks for Wizards. We got four players in Latvia. Obviously, there's a lot of presence from NBA now in Latvia, doing a lot of camps and same throughout all the Europe. I bet that people coming over and coaches coming over to visit and coaching that kind of helps European players get better and connect to NBA more.
Yeah, Bertrand, he's with the Wizards, right?
Yeah, Bertrand
he hoops with Brad. Bill, he can shoot that. He can shoot that. What's up with y'all over there? How come y'all can shoot good, like so well? What's the thing? I mean, you always hear about Europeans just shooting that thing so well. What is it?
Honestly, I think it's so in America, you get in summertime, you get AAU tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Like all you do is just, practice 2-3 times a week and then go play basketball, but there's no structure. It's just basically roll the ball and play 5-on-5, where in Europe, we don't have any games in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
What we have is camps for 2 weeks. So you go to, 3 hours away from your hometown as a team, and you just practice 3 times a day. In mornings, you do skill work, dribbling, shooting. Afternoons, you do weightlifting and kind of some team tactical stuff to learn how to, do help defense, work on your footwork. And then at nights, it's usually, you play some basketball and then do a lot of shooting. And that's just in the summertime, you go through 5, 6, 7 of those camps. Think how much time you put in, on your skill work rather than kind of playing AU ball. So that's the biggest difference that I've seen. Why European players might be more skilled.
Yeah, and more prepared for it. What do you think that, I guess vice versa, because a lot of them are very skilled in that aspect. In order to make these Lukas and these Bertrands and these Porzingises less, like, not so rare, and to see more and more Europeans, what do you think the European game needs to start being better at? Or maybe what did you see? The American game was way more advanced than the European game at.
Well, it's like both are good, like both. So like for in America, when kids play AU, you're always going to have 2-3 players that have the ball the most in their hands. And so those are going to be players that are going to become the most, developed dribbling-wise and skill-wise. But then those guys who don't get to touch the ball out there, their skill sets might, be hurt by that. So
right,
I think that you can have, you look at it both ways. I think in Europe, you should have some basketball tournaments in the summer and play some 5-on-5 more. In America, you should get some more camps in,
Yeah.
And that's just the question. I really haven't seen a lot of basketball camps where people are being, kind of sent away to a different city for 2 weeks where they just do workouts, 2 to 3 times a day. Do you guys have that?
No, not really. I mean, there's not as many like that. Some do. And me being, in the sports scene now as far as camps and then knowing what's going on in the AAU scene, it's so much more AAU now, man. Like you said, the reason the world's connected is because of social media with Europe. But I think almost Americans feel like if they're not in the scene now, if they're not known, which is reality, then they won't be seen. So when it comes to AAU camps or just publicity camps, showcases, that is at the forefront, as opposed to just going and breaking down skill for a couple weeks at a time, which me growing up, that was a thing a lot more. You did have those low-key camps around your state. You can go and just work on the shot. You can just go work on the skill sets. But now, man, it's so much more game. And the lives are so busy. Unfortunately, they don't. And to your point, I think that's why you see so many flaws in so many kids' games these days, because they're just trying to make do with what they have. They just have to go hoop and play instead of working on those little things.
Yeah. That was surprised me too when I got to college my freshman year. It was I remember some players would not know like how to do help side, and they just had to work on a lot of fundamental stuff. And in my head, I was like, dude, like we've been doing this since like freshman, sophomore year in high school. Why are we doing this again? But just that's just the difference right there, right? And so that
I mean, and that's why we need more first to coach, and that's why we need to figure out more ways just to have them to just find some time to help develop the youth, because a lot of guys aren't given those basic fundamentals. And you and I both know, when we were in college, like when I'm seeing starters that are potentially all Big Ten players, but they just have the talent and the skill set, and they never had anyone to really tell them what to do. They don't understand the help side defense. They don't understand being in the gap, right? They haven't actually taken a charge because they were baby growing up so much. The amount of times we had to have guys actually get taught how to take a charge in college, you'd be so surprised. So, to your point, it is crazy. A lot of guys weren't taught that stuff. Yeah. And that's the difference in hoops. That's the difference in coaches around. So you need to have those good coaches. You have to send your kids to those coaches that are going to get them too.
That's a lot of being around. Hey, when I coach kids in Sioux Falls, just being around how many coaches are out there that just really don't know basketball, and they just don't teach it the right way, and kids being taught the wrong way, and it's just going to hurt them in the long run. So
yeah, it'll hurt them. If it's in college when they get there and it's a rude awakening, when they don't understand how to play. And like Tubby, you know how Tubby was, if you don't know how to play the game, son, you're either red shirt or you're just not going to play. And so there's a rude awakening there. Or It's unfortunate when coaches are leading our youth and they don't understand the game, but they're still criticizing the youth. And so then they're hurting the youth's mental and their confidence, even though the youth might be doing something wrong, or it's just not even that big of a deal. You know what I mean? So it's important to that aspect. But talk a little bit about those athletes, man, and getting them ready and just talking about life after basketball, right? That's something that both of you, you and I, we have the pleasure of being in corporate America right now, and probably sooner than a lot of our fellow athletes, I would say, we're kind of having to dive into that. I have a conversation a lot about how we can better prepare student athletes for corporate America, but also with the reality that when we were in college, and a lot of these guys in college right now, we got to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're working like 12-hour shifts a day, like when it comes to practice, training, study hall classes. So what are your thoughts on like how we can be preparing for these student athletes after basketball in ways that's not wasting their time?
Yeah. No, I think I was a prime example on why it's important to kind of do internships and try to figure out what you're going to do after basketball ends, because it can end any day.
Right.
For me, just woke up one day and that's it. You can't play anymore.
Yeah.
I went through I'm not gonna lie, I went through some struggles. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't know what kind of job do I want, what I want to do. So I had to kind of live through it and go through hard times to find my passion. The way you can kind of, I think, help student athletes, and that's something I keep looking at it right now. Nobody's doing. I think in summertime when it's the downtime, we don't have the season. We don't have to work basically 12-hour days as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get them in like a 2-week, 3-week internships to different businesses starting freshman year, just so you can see how corporate world works and what kind of jobs are out there and what different companies do. And just you try, freshman year, you might try marketing. Sophomore, you might try sales. Junior, you might try IT, just to see different jobs and different opportunities that are out there. So then once you hit that senior year, you already kind of have a good guidance on what you want to do in life. Me coming from Europe, I had no idea how anything works in the corporate world. I never had a job before because I always played basketball. So
Yeah.
that would be something that I would kind of think of.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And that's hard when somebody hasn't been around and hasn't been shown that lifestyle, right? And that corporate lifestyle and that corporate America lifestyle. And I think that's a good point because, right, we have in the summertime, we have to be there and we're taking like 1 or 2 classes. Why aren't we doing internships instead of those classes that are actually constructed for class credit?
Yeah.
Is that something you think that's something they can do? Is it something that needs to be, is that the coaches that kind of gets that taken care of, or who do you think really needs to take lead in making that happen at the U's? I think it's something that needs to happen as well.
I don't know who needs to start it. I think, you and I and people who are ex-athletes who kind of went through the same struggle of figuring out what to do with their life after basketball ends. I think that would be the number one. Those people could be the ones that start, talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
After that, obviously involve the coaches, and then after that, academic staff and people, in Beerman, who put together the schedules, figure out with local companies. There's a lot of great companies in the Twin Cities. You can figure out a program where you can do that, and just by having people go attend jobs for 1-2 weeks and seeing what's out there, it's going to be tremendous on how they're going to be prepared for real life after sports.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Talk a little bit about those connections and really the relationships and how important it is to build those for life after sports when you're there. You know what I mean? I think, and athletes there know, if any Gopher Hoopers right now listen, they know those once a month random events you have to show up to where there's 5 or 10 boosters or dunkers there and you're so busy that you don't even really have the time of day to comprehend what you're doing there or shaking their hands. It's just a handshake and, oh, let me go get my meal. Let me go back to the dorm. I mean, how do you need to manage those relationships when you're in college, when we're so busy? And obviously, as a college guy, you're a lot is going on. Like, let's be real. When you're a student athlete, there's so many things that's pulling you in so many different directions. How do you leverage those relationships when you're in college still?
I think it's super important. Even though for people that might be going to play professionally after college, they still need to connect with people. There's that's why Golden Dunker is such a great thing. I feel like it brings ex and current athletes together, and you can share life lessons and give each other pointers. Also, I personally had a kind of mentor in college that was helping. He was around the team a lot, and I asked him a lot of questions, and had that relationship with him, and that helped me kind of prepare for life too a little bit. But it's important, to keep those connections. Also with coaches, with friends after college, when everybody goes their own way. I mean, you can see us, like we're staying in touch. We're staying in touch with everybody. It's uh, an old coach once told me it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And I believe that in life, anywhere you want to be, you have to know somebody. You have to get connections. You have to have connections to succeed.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure that's something that's big for you that's been in Europe, United States, starting out in Illinois, up here in Minnesota, so many different relationships. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's something that's kept
No,
you
yeah,
going.
reading Bree's question too. Like that's the cool thing about me. I'm obviously from Latvia, and I helped a few American players that I know get to Latvia and start off their professional careers down there. And same, I have coaches, that are in China, that are in Italy, different places in the world, that are my friends and that I've played for. And so just by me keeping up those connections, I've people reach out to me like, hey, I see this guy in this team. Can you help me get a foot in the door for this guy? And relationships are huge, and that's the beautiful thing about basketball. Is just you've met so many people throughout your life that if you keep those up, it can be beneficial for you.
Yeah, that's a point that I mean, even some Gopher fans don't even realize. And me, I know I've seen from afar, and I know a lot of guys are appreciative of what you have done, whether it's gone well or not. But I know a lot of our former teammates have been able to leverage you when going to play in Latvia. And Euro basketball, as you know, 80% of college hoopers play Euro basketball. I'd say 10% go to the NBA and 10% are us. That's pretty much
Yep.
what it is. And so there's going to be a lot more that are going to come through and are going to need those relationships. And that's something that's huge that you're able to that. And the point that you made earlier, basketball is about relationships. Like that's really how it is. When you're coaching, that's what you said. Recruiting, right? That's the biggest thing for you.
Yeah.
So
More than a game.
it's more than a game. It's the best game in the world. I'm sure Otto, I guess, how old were you when you came here? 17? 18?
18.
18-year-old Otto, you probably would have never imagined this is where your life would be now, but you probably would have never imagined some of the memories you gained to this point since then either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
huge.
huge.
Basketball brought me over here. I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have the beautiful kids I have. I wouldn't have the relationships I have. Just it's all because of basketball, but also because of relationships. So.
Yeah, man. Well, we're going to end on this. Just one last thing, because I get asked it so much, and I'm sure you get asked so much. You got to play for Coach Smith, Tubby, Coach Pitino, Richie P, both. So, I mean, give one thing for everybody, just because I'm sure people like to know. One thing that you took from each of them, whether it's playing-wise, life after basketball, that's really going to stick with you going forward. Because, I mean, whether good or bad that we got to play with two different coaches, I think it's pretty cool that we did get to see both perspectives.
Yeah. I mean, number one from Tubby, what I learned is he was so huge on developing players like off the court, and just really pushing you to get good grades. And he always asked about your relationships in your family with my wife Laura, and just the biggest thing I learned from him is just to work hard and really push myself on anything I do. And with Patino, learned a lot, the relationship piece. me and him, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do in life. At coaching, that's what he said, like, too, like, you have to have a relationship, you have to be able to recruit people, and that's just kind of off the court. But on the court, they're both great coaches. I was happy I got an opportunity to play for them, and had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I'm glad that you could jump on today, Otto. I'm glad you could talk a little bit, touch base a little bit about hoops, about what's been going on since then. Euro hoops, all of it, man. I think you were one of the Gopher fan favorites. Every time you hit a few threes there's a reason they had those automatic signs.
Oh, yeah. For
sure. And I don't think we're going to have that come back again, man. But appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you taking the time. We'll have to get together again soon for something. We might be doing another one of those streams with Tubby soon here. So maybe everybody will hear from you again soon from that.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, man. It was a great time. Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Definitely. Wash your hands too, man. Make sure the kids are doing well. Keep everything up over there. But appreciate the time and have a good one. Thanks everybody for listening. Next episode should be coming again soon here. This will be available live on YouTube going forward. Talk soon, Otto.
See you. Thank you.